Today, I'm talking with someone who took his experience protecting our country in the Air Force and channeled it into protecting families in their own homes.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
The company behind what might be the smartest address number you've never heard of. He created a device that automatically detects when someone is in your home, dials 911, and immediately starts flashing red and blue lights outside your house.
Back in 2010, joined the Air Force. Originally was enlisted for the Marines, and about a week or two before I was about to join, told my mom finally.
Did you kind of just go through the process and not really think about it?
Yeah. The route that I chose was really just leading out to get into college and trying to get everything set up that way. I would say there's so many people that don't effectively utilize their GI Bill, and that money is just lost.
Was there anything in particular that stood out to you, that impacted you?
When you're in, everybody thinks it's pretty corny to talk about the core values, but after you've gone through the suck, I want to say.
So what was the moment that when you realized something as mundane as a house address could become a matter of life and death?
The average response time for first responders is their goal is 8 to 10 minutes. Unfortunately, that's the same amount of time it takes for brain death to occur.
Did you have any fear about going into this? Did you have to finance yourself?
We're very confident because there's no products out there that are even remotely close to ours.
What do you feel that would be an advice you would give to either a young man getting out or someone just getting out in general, veteran retiring from the military? Welcome to Veterans Corner. I'm George Hinestrosa, an Air Force and Army retired veteran of 25 years. Here on the show, we explore how military experience transforms into business success. Each episode features veterans who built thriving businesses, sharing strategies that turn military training into entrepreneurial advantage. And today's guest is Andrew Timler. Welcome to Veterans Corner, Andrew.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Great, man. Great to have you. It's my honor. Before we begin, it's fascinating what you've been doing since your time in the military. I'm just going to do a little background info here for the audience. There's something fascinating about entrepreneurs who don't just build products. They build products that literally save lives. Today, I'm talking with someone who took his experience protecting our country in the Air Force and channeled it into protecting families in their own homes. Meet Andrew Timler, founder, president, and CEO of Glomensio.com, the company behind what might be the smartest address number you've never heard of. I know what you're thinking. Address numbers, really? But here's where it gets interesting. Drew didn't just create fancy house numbers that light up. He created a device that automatically detects when someone is in your home, dials 911, and immediately starts flashing red and blue lights outside your house. Imagine being an EMT racing through an unfamiliar neighborhood at 2 a.m. during an emergency. Every second counts, and finding the right house could be the difference between life and death. But here's what really caught my attention. Drew and his team have been quietly installing these devices across 8 states for the past year and a half, field testing them through Arizona heat waves and Wisconsin blizzards. They're not just another startup with a prototype. They're a company that's already proven their product works in the real world. What started as illuminated house numbers has evolved into what Drew calls the smartest smart home device, complete with delivery detection, automatic lighting, and AI-powered integrations on the horizon. They've built a subscription model that's something as simple as your house number and somehow made it feel essential. From security forces at Whiteman Air Force Base to bootstrapped entrepreneur, revolutionizing how emergency responders find homes in crisis situations, this is clearly someone who thinks differently about everyday problems. Drew, so thank you again for being with us today. And just for the audience, if you don't mind, before we get into your business journey, share a little bit about your military service, what branch, how long you served, and maybe your primary role.
Yeah, so I joined the military back in 2010, joined the Air Force. Originally was enlisted for the Marines, and about a week or two before I was about to join, told my mom finally. Right. And she wasn't too happy with that. So she gave my uncle a call. He used to be in the Air Force, and between the two of them and my dad, they ended up convincing me to switch to the Air Force. And for that reason, I switched to security forces. So maybe I could have some more of a transition into real world for some extra skills when you get out. So I was always interested in helping others. I always had kind of a little interest in doing security, police, law enforcement. So that's the route I took. Got in October 2010 and got stationed at Whiteman Air Force Base, where I did a little bit of law enforcement, and then our big mission there was nuclear security with the B-2s there. So between that, doing like first responding work, after I got out, went back to school, used the GI Bill, and became a nurse. After that time, I was like, oh, well, what do I want to do with my life? So I was just doing my college classes, doing the GI Bill. I was competing in bodybuilding while I was going to nursing school. And yeah, and then I became an ICU nurse and really just developed a passion for helping others. And my first job was at the Milwaukee VA hospital. So I continued to help other veterans along with my military background. So that was very rewarding, not only for myself, but just hear all the stories from all the Vietnam vets and continue supporting my brothers and sisters that have served before me.
Yeah, it's interesting. My brother is also an ICU nurse in California. So yeah, I understand. That's actually, I commend you for that, because those are things you see in those situations, right?
I was going to say just a big thing too, like when we're in the military and you're doing your QC, that's basically just a test trying to learn your proficiency for your, security forces. They have them for every MOS that you have. When you're getting down into like your 3 to 6 month mark at your base, then you start training on further positions. And one of the QCs is you have to respond to like an active threat or an active shooter, domestic disturbance at somebody's house. And on Air Force bases, there's not always reliable GPS. They give you an address, you have a map, and maybe it's a little different now, but when I was back in 2010 to 2014, that's what we had. So a map and a flashlight and a car, and they say, good luck, go find the house, and hopefully you respond in time. And there are certain requirements to where you do have to respond in time in order to pass your QC.
Right. Yeah.
So on a military installation, every house pretty much looks the same. We're shining a flashlight or a spotlight on the address numbers to make sure that we're actually at the right house.
Yeah. So that's probably where you started getting the idea.
Yeah, so little did I know that 5-6 years later that I would start creating a company revolving around some of the experiences or issues that I experienced in the past.
When you were in the service and you were doing all these things, did you have an entrepreneurial spirit? Were you just thinking about maybe getting out, getting your degree, maybe joining, being a cop, or just an EMT guy since you had the training already, you were getting the training? I mean, what was going through your mind at that point? Just for the audience, right? So on this show, we're trying to build people up and we're trying to really go through the process, and everyone has an evolution in their life and everyone comes from a different background, and the way we approach certain things in life at a certain age tends to be different for many people, right? And some people are married at a young age, some people are single till late in their lives or whatever. How we navigate through life, this is really what the show is about for people transitioning, veterans that have retired or just whatever, so that we can all dig and get a little bit of nugget of wisdom, or of, hey, yeah, that's happening to me, or I feel that, or that's exactly what happened to me. Just share with me a little bit about that whole thing.
Yeah, so I graduated high school, 18, no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I was like, well, I like personal training, I like fitness, I like helping others, but didn't really know what I wanted to do. But I knew that college was probably the next step. So went to school for 2 years, just doing my like undergrad business prereqs. And then I woke up one day, I was like, I don't really want to sit at a desk the rest of my life and work. One day I woke up and I just like, all right, I'm going to join the military, figure out what I want to do with my life, and just have that kind of like growth that I really wanted to find and just like experience on my own. So from there, after getting out of the military, you deal with so many different adversities in there. You have good leaders, there's bad leaders. So that's where my entrepreneurial background really started, was having those good leaders that really motivated you to do more and do better. And then you have those bad leaders and you're like, oh, I never want to lead my team or be like that. Just getting out into the real world. And when I was in school, just getting that knowledge for nursing and then actually working as a nurse, I just felt like there was something lacking where I wanted more, where I obviously, as an ICU nurse, you're really only helping 1 to 2 patients per shift. So I just felt like I could do more with my background and just my drive and motivation.
Did you have a buddy? Did you have a mentor? Were you an avid reader? Were you like involving? How were you like trying to shape your mind as a young man going through all of these things, right? And finding yourself? What was your like developmental? What did you do to keep yourself going, right?
More so in the military or after?
Well, kind of while you're in the military, we started thinking about things, and then you got off and you became a nurse, right? But at that point, all of these things are all like you're saying, right? You weren't sure if you really wanted to continue doing that. So what were those emotions that you were feeling inside? What was motivating you or pushing you in a direction?
I guess in the military, I had a pretty good leader and the coach, not in the military, but he trained me for Air Force's pre-ranger school to get ready for the actual ranger school. But in the Air Force, you got to go through pre-ranger first.
Right.
So Sergeant Guerra was his name. He was at Whiteman Air Force Base and kind of took me under his wing. We were both from Wisconsin, so I think that helped a little bit.
Yeah.
Then he just kind of mentored me throughout the military days. And then after I got out, my brother-in-law, he was actually going for his med school degree, and then he ended up switching to nursing and wanted to be a CRNA, so a nurse anesthetist.
Right.
So I kind of looked up to him, and he helped me through school and just gave me all the ideas. He's like, well, this is what you can do. And I didn't really know anything about nursing. And then I got into it. I was like, wow, there's a lot that goes into that you don't really understand. And I mean, you get very intimate and connected with a lot of those patients. I mean, a lot of them can't help themselves, especially when they're on a ventilator. I mean, you're there keeping them alive and you're their support system.
Right. So as you were getting ready to exit the service, did you use any of the programs that are available? Did you have like those 6 months prior to leaving? Did any of those programs help you about maybe starting a business or going for a government job or going into the corporate world? Or did you kind of just go through the process and not really think about it?
Yeah. Honestly, the route that I chose was really just leading out to get into college and trying to get everything set up that way. Yeah. So I would say there's so many people that don't effectively utilize their GI Bill, and that money is just lost, or hopefully they at least pass that on to their kids one day. But the benefits are so incredible and like unrealized while you're in. It almost I mean, depending on the base and your job that you're in and like environment, it almost feels like you don't really realize what the real life is like once you get out, because you're in such a tight-knit community with everybody around you. There's structure, and then you get out and then you're on your own. The programs were definitely there to help the transition a lot easier, especially to utilize the GI Bill.
Was there any fear? Are you married?
I am engaged. We actually get married a month from now.
Okay, so you weren't at the time, so you didn't have the responsibility of having that family. Some people have a family. Okay, no, so you go ahead and continue then. What you used the college route, the GI Bill, and how long did that take you to go through that? Or you had already started college while you were...
Yeah, so when I was in the military, they have so many opportunities for you to advance your schooling.
Right.
So I probably took since I already had 2 years of college, and then I probably did about another year over my 4 years during the military. So after I got out, I only had to do 1 year really of prerequisites before I got into nursing school. And then it was just full 2-year program for that and to get my bachelor's degree.
Okay. All right. Let's go back just before we move on to the business side of things. Was there any experience while you were at Whiteman, while you were doing your security forces duties? Was there anything in particular that stood out to you, that impacted you? Any experience that you faced that helped shape some part of your life or your psyche?
Yes. I think it's kind of, when you're in, everybody thinks it's pretty corny to talk about the core values, but after you've gone through the suck, I want to say, you actually put those core values into motion in real life. And then after you get out, I mean, if you lean on those 3 things, you're pretty much set. Like it's hard to falter from your plan if you're following those core values. So I think that's a big thing, especially when I was doing like training for pre-ranger. There's so many things like you can put your body through that you don't really know that you can do. Like we were doing a 15-mile ruck and I was at mile 10. My ruck was broke, so I had to carry it over my shoulder. And I had cramps in both calves, both hamstrings, and both quads. And I was like, well, I can't just stop moving. And
Wow.
you don't realize that your body can push through that, because like, let's say I was playing soccer or baseball growing up and I was got a cramp running, like you fall down and act like you got shot. But in the real world, in the military, it's like, no, there's no time to fall down. Like you just got to push through.
It's amazing how the mind takes over, right? So the body thinks it has a limit, but then once the mind kicks in, it's like, oh no, I ain't stopping.
Cadre would ask me every single day, you want to quit, Ranger? I was like, I'll quit tomorrow.
Yeah.
So every day they came up, I was like, I'll quit tomorrow.
Right. So I got to ask, so most people look at their house numbers, right? And let's get into the business side of things, right? So most people look at their house numbers and think, well, good enough. You looked at yours and you saw life or death problem waiting to be solved, right? And that's when Glomensio.com comes into play here. So what was the moment that when you realized something as mundane as a house address could become a matter of life and death or saving someone?
So it was kind of a cool story, actually. After I got out of the military, I went down to ASU where I got randomly paired up with a roommate. And my roommate was from India, and we had no prior communication or contact. The lease was by just an individual room in the apartment. So I met him, and he was a mechanical engineer while I was doing the medical route. And this was back in 2014. And then I get a call, 2020, COVID's already started. I get a call from him. He's like, "Hey man, like, how's it going?" We've been in contact since then, but probably it was like a year's passed since I've heard from him. He's like, "Hey, how's it going? I'm on my way back to India. My father unfortunately passed away. So I'm gonna head back there to stay with my mom, and I'm gonna start up a business, and was seeing if you'd like to join." So
Right.
he's the smartest person I've ever met, and it didn't take too much convincing. So it was about 20 minutes into a phone call. He was like, "Hey, this is what we're doing. Light up address numbers." And the reason we got started on that was during COVID, everybody was at home doing deliveries for like food, packages, and whatnot. And the apartment complex we were at, they could never find our apartment. So had to go out to the middle of the street every single time, or they would just drop it off at the wrong house. So, I mean, if the delivery driver can't find your house, we just kind of used my like intuition and thinking with like medical background going in. I was like, well, that means first responders are very unlikely to find your house either. And just adding into my ICU nursing and experience, I mean, I've seen so many times where seconds can save somebody's life. The average response time for first responders is their goal is 8 to 10 minutes. Unfortunately, that's the same amount of time it takes for brain death to occur. So every second that passes, more neurons are continuing to die. So that's basically where it came from. And then we're just trying to keep expanding our ideas and thoughts from that. But we are bootstrapped, so it's slowly but surely ongoing process. And luckily for us in technology, with Wi-Fi and over-the-air updates, everything that we put into the device will just over-the-air updates from here on out. So let's say you place an order today, we add some new technology. A few weeks later, you don't have to miss out and buy a whole new product.
Right. Now you've met this gentleman. You guys obviously have helped each other grow in the industry there. Did you have any fear about going into this? Did you have to finance yourself? Did you have to, for the prototype, what resources were available to you, or did you look for?
I would say, but more of like a positive anxiety. Like everybody thinks anxiety is the end of the world, but that's anxiety is also there to keep us alive for positive and negative reasons. And I kind of used and channeled that as a positive, where it was more exciting. Like obviously I was anxious starting a new business, and we were very confident because there's no products out there that are even remotely close to ours. And then we got our patent secured about 6 months ago as well. The first year wasn't too bad because we were kind of just slowly building the product, developing it more so on the tech side. So he was developing everything in CAD and SolidWorks, so just like engineering software. So proving his simulations online and via computer versus a real world product. And then I think it took us about 6 months before we had our first prototype. And then a couple months later after that, we had our first device installed, actually all 8 different states at the same time between the Midwest, Southeast, Texas. We kind of tested out all the different environments just to make sure it was weatherproof and there's no issues.
Right.
So yeah, totally bootstrapped and funded, and the way that we were able to do that.
How did you guys manage through that year of developmental stage of the prototype, or getting the bugs out of it as much as you could at the time, right? Because there's an ongoing process with all that.
So it was during COVID, and I was doing travel nursing as an ICU nurse, and luckily they were paying quite well at that time, so I was able to save up quite a bit of money. So instead of diluting capital right away, we were just able to hit the ground running, and I funded the whole thing up until about the 2.5 year mark. Then we did a little friends and family round, raised $100,000 doing that, and I've been funding it ever since between that and some sales here and there. But we did our official launch at CES in Vegas this past year in January. Yeah, so it's the largest consumer electronics show in the entire world. So I had no idea what I was getting myself into because I've never been a big tech guy before this, but had to just learn and get thrown into the fire. So that's the best way to learn.
Yeah.
There's tons of people. There was like 15 different hotels, casinos that are hosting this conference, and met tons of people, got a lot of media support. There's a lot of interviews where it's basically just kind of learning and growing from there. It was our first big exposure. So met a lot of cool people all across the world. I mean, there's people from China, Japan, Russia, Germany. Some really cool potential collaborations in the future with what we want to do with our technology too.
Wow. Excellent. Excellent. So when you first pitched smart house numbers to people, I mean, how did that come across? Were you trying to raise money, or maybe they thought you were crazy, or created a device that sits quietly for months, maybe years, and then all of a sudden, at the moment everything goes wrong, boom, there it is, right? It saves someone's life. So
yeah. So I think that's the biggest challenge right now is since it's a new product and technology, it's like people don't really realize the need until it's usually too late. That's the big part right now is just trying to do some education and like educating campaigns with ads through Meta and Twitter and stuff like that. The initial reaction was, oh yeah, that's awesome. How has nobody ever done that before? And then we've also heard other things too, where some investment pitches, somebody said, this product wouldn't even have been successful if it was released in the 1980s or 90s. I was like, I mean, you're always going to get both sides of it, I think.
Yeah, but with the technology that we have today, I mean, that's kind of like, it's perfect, right? It's like a perfect marriage between the technology, the need, and the timing, really. Do you feel that your experience in the military, like your resilience that you built up, has helped you navigate through the building up of the prototype, going through all those barriers, raising the money, talking to people? How do you feel that the leadership, the good and the bad, and your own experience has helped you through all of this?
Absolutely. It's just really Gaurav and myself that have been running the business. So with the two of us, we've got two other individuals that are part of it too. One works for Lockheed Martin. So he's our electrical engineer that we do consulting with. So we've got a pretty good team of individuals around us, and we'd like to keep it small instead of, I feel like a lot of companies these days, they just want to hire because people don't want to do the work as much these days, where we've been doing everything from scratch from day one. I mean, with a startup and financial issues is going to bring some struggles between the partners, which we found out, but we've got a great relationship where we're able to work through it. I mean, we've been doing this for over 4 years now. So all of the conversations, just playing devil's advocate and running through all the different simulations and situations. We're at a very confident place right now with where we're at with the patent and just comparing other products online. There's another company called Selegna, and they sell address numbers online. Same price point as us, but they're all custom. And we kind of just took their analytical data off of Amazon to see how many sales they're getting each month. And same price point as us, but they don't really offer any added utility to the product like we do. So we're just trying to figure out our place in the market and figure out the best price point. And we're kind of just comparing with the other companies that are there already. Same thing with like Ring Doorbell came out, and they were on Shark Tank, and the sharks passed on them, and they sold for $1 billion a couple of years back.
Right. Exactly. You're on the threshold, buddy.
Yes.
So tell me something, Andrew. So do you ever identify as a veteran? Do you feel that being a veteran has helped you maybe open some doors, or do you use that at all in your marketing?
Yep. We put it on all of our marketing material that it's a veteran-owned company. And a lot of the conferences or networking events, there's a lot in the Phoenix area, which is pretty great. It's kind of a booming tech area. Like they've got TSMC out here, if I'm saying that correctly. They just put like $160 billion into a factory. And then there's a couple other chip plants that are coming up. So there's a lot of money and technology coming into the Arizona area. Whenever I'm going to these like networking conferences, it always seems that there's at least half the people there are veterans or married to a veteran.
Right.
Something about that, probably just that drive and resilience that we've learned in the military, and not even learned, it's instilled in you.
Right. Did you ever consider like an SBA loan or going through anything like that? I know the paperwork is crazy.
We applied for a SBIR, SBIR, for anybody that didn't know what that is. And there was actually a conference that was put on by a group called Venture Cafe here in Phoenix. And they brought in a bunch of the people that actually approve those awards just to give entrepreneurs and business leaders more advice on how to apply and like what they're actually looking for, what resources you can utilize. So that's what we're going for right now. Is we applied for, they have an open application every quarter, and the first quarter we unfortunately didn't get chosen because we needed to have somebody on base willing to sponsor us.
Right.
So we found somebody at this conference, which was great, and we're going to be trying to develop a product specifically for the military, to where kind of those ideas and struggles that I had when I was doing my QC as security forces on Whiteman,
Right.
hopefully integrate that into the military installations as well, because not only for base housing and the residents living there, but just for security purpose in general. Like say somebody trips an alarm, somebody calls it in or pushes a button, the billing numbers will start flashing red and blue, because not only is it hard to find the houses on base, it's also hard to find buildings, especially when there's an emergency.
Right. So tell me now personal. So what do you do to focus? What things do you like? Meditation? I know you work out. You mentioned that obviously, but do you have a ritual that helps you get through the day? What can you tell us a little bit about maybe what works for you? Because other people have different techniques, right? But
absolutely. Big believer in breath work. There's a lot of different avenues of doing breath work. And I got linked up with a chiropractor here in Scottsdale. Saying he's a chiropractor is almost an insult because he does so much more than just manipulating your bones.
Right.
So he's helped me a ton with kind of mental health, getting a routine, like a daily routine, such as just positive thinking, positive reinforcement. Wake up every day, talk in the mirror to yourself, like positive reinforcement things like tell yourself you love yourself, tell everybody around you like who you're grateful for, why you're grateful for them. And then the breath work, I think, really helps put that into motion. I mean, I wouldn't have ever thought that doing deep breathing in a certain pattern would have such a big effect on you.
Right. Who was talking about that? I think Gary, I don't know if you've heard of Gary Breck. I think he advocates one of his rituals in the morning is the sunlight.
Cold plunge.
Yeah, full plunge, but grounding and the breathing. He says really if you have a backyard, you can do all three at the same time, right? Just walk barefoot and get the sun and at the same time do the breath. So spiritually speaking, are you Christian or do you have any type of faith you adhere to?
I'm Christian, believe in God. Don't go to church a whole lot. So like self-prayer.
Right. Excellent. Is that part of your daily also routine? Do you find yourself reading maybe or just meditating on the word a little bit?
Yes. I grew up Catholic. I went through the whole confirmation. And then when I joined the military, I was still actually going to church when I was in the military, but when I got out and got into the medical field, I kind of went a different direction and more like scientific focused. I don't know why that happened, just it did. Probably because what I was seeing in person, just a lot of like death and unexplained death. So I think it was just having a lot of questions, and then refound my faith, I guess you could say, about 2 years ago. I got valley fever really bad out here and had a pretty big health scare. So I lost a lot of weight and been...
What is that, valley fever?
It's a fungal spore that grows in the ground out here in the Phoenix Valley area. And no idea how I got it, but just I thought I had COVID really bad, and then it just prolonged, and then they told me I had a lesion in my lung. So then I went into the hospital. They were like, oh yeah, you've got a lesion in your lung. I was like, does that mean like I'm dying, like have cancer? They're like, no, it's either from the photos or imaging that they did. They said it's either from tuberculosis or valley fever. So ultimately it ended up being valley fever, and I was just on medication for about 6 months and been an ongoing journey. And I think I'm finally over the hump as of a month ago. Knock on wood.
Excellent. Great. Great to hear it. So congratulations on being engaged and getting ready to start your family. As we chime out here, and I just want you to share, like if you had someone transitioning out of the military right now, regardless of what branch or where they work, and they're in that spot of having to decide what to do for the future, regardless whether it's business or just going into the workforce. Well, what can you tell the audience in your personal feeling? What do you feel that would be an advice you would give to either a young man getting out or someone just getting out in general, veteran retiring from the military?
I think the biggest thing, especially with veterans, and the unfortunate and like sad truth of how many veterans are like depressed, trying to struggle to find that purpose after they get out. So I think that's the main thing is, what's your purpose? Like, what do you want to accomplish in life? And my future father-in-law, that's what he preaches every day. He's like, got to wake up and have a purpose.
Right.
So I think that would be the biggest thing. And if you're struggling to find that, there's so many support groups out there. You can just Google them, find them on LinkedIn. There's so many veteran support groups out there that have done exactly what I'm doing and others have done, including you. We're all happy to help each other as a community. Like, there's enough for everybody to go around. We all want to see each other succeed. I would say between finding your purpose, joining a support group, and building that daily routine so you've got something to follow each day so you don't get complacent.
Right. Well, that's what I'm hoping this channel is going to help people with, right? Just to hear the different stories, the different angles of the way people see life, different experiences they've gone through. And so that's what I'm hoping really to get across through this channel, is just to help people make it a hub where people can get resources and meet people like yourself. Obviously, we should network. I feel like as veterans, we should network together business-wise and build each other up, because I mean, there's so many of us that if we just relied on each other, we would probably create another dynasty. Yeah. So, but hey, Andrew, man, thank you for being on the show, man. And I'm going to have you back and we're going to focus more on Glomensio.com. For now, I really appreciate you being on here. Thank you for your service. Thank you for what you're doing now. You're serving the community by helping to save lives. I will put all your contact information once the video gets published. We'll have all that in the descriptions. But again, thank you, Andrew, for being with us today. God bless you. And again, God bless the United States.
Awesome. Thank you, George. Appreciate you having me.